Hello, my name is Jimmy Vegas and welcome to this, the 10th in a series of video tutorials on how to create a Super Mario game in Unity 5. So this episode we're going to be working down here again and we're going to build our pipe which takes us back up to the upper world just here. So the mechanics of the pipe going up are relatively similar to the other pipe. But coming down here, I think we ended up doing that pipe and then coming down here in about 2 episodes. It panned over 2 episodes. We're going to do creating both pipes down here and one up at top in one whole episode. So the first thing you're going to want to do is find your original pipe that you created, in this case, a green pipe. I'm going to Control D to duplicate. Let's zoom out a bit so we can see it. And what you're going to need to do is position it down here. But it's going to need to be a bit bigger than this one because we need it to fit our entire character in. So firstly, let's rotate it by 90 degrees. Oops, not on the Y, my apologies. We need to do it on the Z or Z, 90 degrees. Let's increase the scale to 2 by 2 by 2. And then let's drag and drop into position. Let's make sure it's all aligned nicely. So we need to pull it along this way a touch and down, and then all the way to the end of this section just here. I think I might need to pull it down just once more. No, that looks a bit silly. Let's keep it there. Okay, so in this pipe now, what you're going to need to do is in Pipe Gullet, you'll need to delete Pipe Collider. We don't actually need that anymore. So once we've got that there, we then need to do the pipe which goes upwards. So real easy. If you take the Pipe Gullet, Control D to duplicate, change the rotation to 90. Not the Y, sorry. Let's change on the Z, sorry, back to 90. And then you can position that pipe how you want it. So I'm going to put it about there. And I'm going to increase the size on the Y-axis. It's going to need to be tall. So let's see. How about 2? Okay, that looks fairly decent. So let me pull it up to about there. And I'm just going to extend these roof blocks. So I want to Control D to duplicate and just move them along. That might be one too many. So let's play and just make sure that this looks okay for when we take our character down there. So down the pipe we go. Excuse me. Okay, so that looks okay for now. I'm just going to get rid of that last block that I put there. Okay, so now we need to go up here to our upper world where we originally came down. And I'm going to take the last 3 blocks just here. And I'm not going to do anything fancy. I am just going to take these just to... I've gone a bit too far there. I'm just going to take these just to build up the world a little up here. Just so we've got something more for our pipe to come back up to. So I'll just do a couple more along here. And one more. Okay. So now your next thing to do, once you've got your world, enough path I should say, along here, all you need to do is duplicate this pipe again. So go to your green pipe, this one just here, the original. Duplicate, pull it all the way to about there, I think. Is that going to be far enough, or do you think we should go a little bit further? We should probably take it a little bit further, just in case, because it is quite big below. About there, I think. So let's do a couple more of these at the end, just to pull our ground long enough, because eventually I want to get some mushroom enemies between them 2 pipes. That's how I intend to get this going anyway. So I'll just do one more. Okay, so that should be enough for our upper world right now. Okay, next thing we're going to need to do is we need to take our collider in this second pipe over here, which is green pipe 2. So in pipe gullet, you need to right click and rename this one. It's important you rename this one because you don't want it the same as the pipe collider in this original pipe that we created. Otherwise, you would have a little bit of a problem as to you'd have the same name for when we create the animation. So what we need to do, over here now you have your pipe collider 2 renamed. Pull the actual, in fact I'll turn the mesh render on so we can see exactly where it is on screen. What you're going to need to do is pull it down to probably about there. Now we need to, oops, gone a bit too far out there. We're going to need to now animate this collider. Same way we did with the other one. So if you head to your animations and down here, make sure you still got Pipe Collider 2. Right click on Animator and remove the component. And what you're going to need to do is in Animation, you need to create. And let's call this Pipe 001 Exit. So now this is the animation which raises our character upwards. So the first frame we need to set as is normally. So I'm going to set this as -2.25 because that's roughly where it is on the y-axis, just there. So by the, I think we did it with 90 frames with the last one. I'm going to make this one just a little over 90 frames, which is 1.5 seconds, but I'm still going to work to the 1.5 seconds that we do in the script. So I'm going to go to frame 95 and I'm going to bring this up to there. And I'm going to stop animation. Turn the mesh renderer off and turn the animator off as well. Okay, so we've got the basics of this in the pipe now. So what we need to do is we need to write a script which allows us to enter this pipe down here, fade screen out, teleport to the pipe up above while raising out the pipe. As I say, it's fairly similar to what we did last time. Nothing too spectacular, but I don't think it's quite as long, to be honest, this time because we don't need to worry too much about much of the code. So right click, create script. Excuse me. Let's call this pipe 001 exit. And let's head into Mono Develop to edit the script, or Visual Studio, whichever one you use. So we're going to need to do about 6 variables in this script. We need to reference pretty much the same variables as last time. This time what we're going to need to do is we will need to change a little bit of audio, but we'll get around to that when we've written our script all together. So the first thing we'll do is we'll focus on that audio. So var pipe sound, and that's going to be audio source, semicolon. Now the next one is going to be the fade screen. So nice and simple, same as last time. Var fade screen, that's going to be game object. Next one, main camera will do. So var main cam, that's going to be game object. We'll do the secondary camera, which is the camera we are currently on in the underworld. So var, I wouldn't call it second cam, wasn't it? Second cam, and that will be game object again. Next one is going to be the pipe entry, the animation we've just created basically, but I'm just going to call it pipe entry again to keep it the same as what it was in our original script. So var pipe entry, and that's going to be game object. And last one is going to be the player himself. So var, and let's call this main player, and that's going to be game object again. So the function we're going to use for this one is not going to be the same as what we did for pipe 001 entry, because this one we had to determine whether we stood on the pipe or not, and if we were, we would check for it and then execute our own function. This time, all we're going to use is an on trigger enter function. So that's function on trigger enter. And my standard way of doing this is, if you've seen all of my other videos, you'll know I'm pretty standard with this one. Call, and then collider, 2 L's, close bracket, open curly bracket. So we're going to need to do the sequence in this. So firstly, what we need to do is we need to play the pipe sound, we need to fade the screen out, and then we need to teleport our player up to the top. We need to fade our screen in as we're rising out of the pipe. So we need to follow that. I think it's about 13, 14 lines of code that we're going to have to write for that. So let's get going. As I say, first thing we'll do is we will play the sound. So pipe sound dot play, open close bracket, semicolon. Next thing, we need the fade screen. So that's fade screen dot set active. That's true, because if you recall, at the end of our pipe 001 entry, we actually turned off the fade screen. So once we've got that set active and on and ready to go, we need to get component, the animator, and set it as active. So that's fade screen dot get component. And as I say, the component we need is animator. Oops, that should be in quotes. Animator. And then we need dot enabled to be true. So now we've turned on the fade screen, and the fade screen lasts I think half a second, but we set it as 0.495 if I recall in the last one. Yes, so we'll use that same one again as 495. So yield wait 4 seconds and in brackets 0.495. So then we need to turn off that fade screen. So fade screen dot get component, and then animator dot enabled equals false. So now we're left with the black screen. So the next thing to do is turn our main camera on and our secondary camera off. So main cam dot set active is true, and second cam dot set active false. So now we're back up to our normal camera, and our normal camera is always following the upper world. So now we need to take our player from the bottom to the top. So we can do that quite simply by using the transform.position, same as last time. So main player, not platter, player dot, sorry, what was it? It was position, transform, wasn't it? Transform dot position equals, actually no. Yes, we're going to use vector 3 actually, sorry. Vector 3. Now, before we go any further, we need to determine whereabouts our player is going to rise up from. Excuse me. The only thing you really need to know is just one axis. You don't need to worry too much about the y-axis as long as you follow the same principle as I have. And the y-axis for this upper world is set to 0. So as long as yours is set to 0, your actual second value that we'll put needs to be 1 above whatever this value is. So we need the we're going to need the x value on this one, sorry. So the x value for this green pipe is 25.25. So you should really add about 0.25 to 0.5 to that value. So for now, I'm going to add 0.25 and see where we get. So although mine says 25.25, I'm now going to put 25.5. And as I say, for the second value, it should be one above whatever you have set as the y. So in my case, I have 0 in there, so I'm going to put the number 1 there. And as for the z or z position, it should stay as whatever your character is currently set at. So 0.5. So if you click your third person controller and see your z or z position just there, put it here. 0.5. Close bracket, semicolon. So just to make this clear, this particular line of code will take our player inside this pipe just here, about there where my mouse is now. So the next thing we need to do is, now as we transformed our player, we need to activate the animator that is inside that pipe, which rises up out of the pipe. So we need to do pipe entry dot get component and quotes animator dot enabled equals true, semicolon. And at the same time, we need to fade out our screen. So I'm going to use this again. So I'm going to copy and paste that line. So we've activated our animator. And now what we need to do is we need to wait for an exact same amount of time there. So we need to wait for 0.45 seconds while the animator runs on the fade screen. And then we need to take that line, which disables it. So just to reiterate here, after your character has been moved to that upper position in the pipe, we turn on the pipe entry animator. We turn on the fade screen animator. We wait for just under half a second, and then we turn off the fade screen. After this, we need to wait for a further second while the pipe entry the pipe entry animator animates. So yield, wait for seconds, and we'll make this 1 whole second. So now in total, after we've moved our player, we've waited for just a fraction under 1.5 seconds, which is why we aimed for just slightly more when we animated our pipe entry, just so we've got a little bit of room for error there. So once we've waited for a second, we then need to turn off our pipe entry animator. So pipe entry, get component, animator, dot enabled equals false. And then the last line, we just need to set the fade screen as inactive. So fade screen dot set active false, and then close curly bracket to finish the function and save your script. So if you are having problems with this script, as always, you can head over to the website. You can download this exact script for free. One thing I have noticed, the first variable right there, that should be capital S on audio source. So yeah, you can go to the website, download some assets, find this particular episode and download this script for free. Let's head back to Unity, and hopefully we have, okay, I spelled fade screen wrong at the end there. So I'll learn that from the console just here. So I'm going to clear that and see what else we have. So still fade screen somewhere I've put. Let's see, where have I put that? Right there. Being a bit silly. Okay, so save. And hopefully that should take all the errors out of our console. And it does. Okay, so now we have the script written. The next thing we're going to need to do is we need to modify this audio just here, the pipe entry. We need to take this object, audio, which contains the pipe entry. We need to duplicate it, and we need to drag that onto our secondary camera. So if you drag that all the way down your hierarchy to wherever your secondary camera is, Don't think it's too far down for me. Should be just here somewhere. Okay, there we go. First pipe camera. And then that will also be turned inactive. Although it's ticked, it's still inactive because its main parent object is inactive. So the reason we've had to do that is in our script, we're playing the sound, pipe sound, before the object it's attached to has become active. So you will get an error if you try to attach it to that. So the next thing to do to get this all working correctly is we need to go to game object. Let's do 3D object and cube, make things nice and simple. I'm going to make this 2 by 2 by 2. And I'm going to move it into position, which is going to be inside our pipe. So about there. I'm not going to turn off the mesh renderer just yet. Right click, rename, and let's call this pipe 001 exit underscore trigger. And over here in the box collider component, make sure you tick is trigger. Next thing you're going to need to do is the script we wrote, pipe 001 exit, drag and drop onto that cube that we've just created. And now we need to fill in all these objects. So to do that, we're going to go to the audio that we did first. So the pipe entry needs to go on pipe sound. Find our canvas, drag and drop our fade screen. Main cam, which is our main camera. Secondary cam, or second cam, is first pipe camera. Pipe entry is pipe collider 2, which you remember is the animator which raises us up out the pipe. And main player is, of course, the third person controller. So I'm going to turn off the mesh renderer now. I'm going to save my project. And with a bit of luck, everything we've put together now in our script, setting our objects where they need to be, everything should flow just nicely here. So along we go in our pipe, collecting some coins, which we'll add sound to soon enough, into our pipe. Okay, so you'll notice we're not quite far enough at the moment. So we can modify that. So if we go over here onto roughly where our pipe is, you can see the value we're going to need to put is about 29. So the reason I know this, and we've gone not quite far enough here in main player.transform.position, this value here, 25.5, has brought our player out just here. So we need to change it to 29 because that is where our player is going to come out here. So let's stop playing that. Let's change the value here to 29. Save. Back to Unity. Script having a quick think. Should be okay. And let's press play. And let's see if this works. Fingers crossed, second time lucky. And down the pipe we go. Through the area below, into the pipe, and up we come out the pipe. Okay, so that is how we can get ourselves out the pipe. The biggest thing you're going to need to worry about in this particular tutorial is just getting your man or your player or whatever you want to call him to align perfectly with this pipe. It shouldn't be too difficult because your Y value is always going to be one above whatever your blocks here are numbered as, and your Z or Z value is always going to be the same in your script. So it's just a case of working out the number you need to put in this line of code. So even though you can download this from the website, please bear in mind that it's not going to be quite exactly the same if you've not followed me exactly. I wouldn't expect you to follow me exactly. This is only a tutorial to show you how to do it in the first place. If you have followed me exactly and all your items, objects are in the exact same position as mine, then this script is likely to work absolutely perfect without any modification. If it doesn't, just look at changing this first number after vector 3. So we'll leave that tutorial there for now. Next episode, we'll add some sound to our coins below. We'll start adding in some more features. We need to start working on enemies, I think. Possibly some coins up on our upper world, blocks and different things, maybe a mushroom, question mark blocks. We'll be doing a lot of things in the coming tutorials. So until next time, thank you very much for watching.